Hello and welcome to the Local Music Revolution. I am your host, Ogre. On this episode, I talked to a gentleman by the name of Rob Weeks. Rob was one of the first people to offer help and support for the podcast, and for that, I am truly grateful. I've talked to him since the interview about little questions I've had and things, and he's given me pointers, and I can't thank him enough for that. I mean, I want to be better. That's the whole point, is you get better at something you enjoy and you become great at it. So I'm very, very thankful for the fact that he's helped me out, and I've gotten better as a result. So thank you, brother. He is a bassist for a band called the Long Black Veils, and we get into talking about his band and their writing process and how everything works in the band and their shows and things like that. All the nerdy music stuff is always fun to talk about, but it was really fun just hearing about a band I've never heard and you know, finding out the inner workings of how they function. Rob is also a podcaster himself, though, and he has his own podcast called the Firefly Podcast. If you've ever seen the show Firefly, which it's been off the air for like 12 years now for some strange reason, but if you've seen that show, then you have kind of an idea of what his podcast is about. They're, acting out the podcast, the show. Their characters are really funny and very interesting, and took a little bit of time to get used to the format, but I've heard both episodes. I'm really looking forward to the third episode. And right now, my favorite character is Ambrose. I cannot tell you why, because I'm not really sure why. You'll have to listen to the show to actually find out who Ambrose is and why he is so awesome. But for right now, he is my favorite character of the characters on there. Now, let's get to Rob Weeks. Shiny. And we're here with Rob Weeks from the Long Black Veils. How you doing, brother?
Oh, not too bad, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right, man. Thank you very much for asking. So before we get too far into this, can you talk about your band members in the Long Black Veils, please?
Yeah, it's Rob Avalos, the other Rob in the band. He's our singer, harmonica player, guitar player, songwriter.
Okay.
And then Johnny Serpa, he's our drummer and just all-around awesome dude. And then myself, I'm just a bass player and a beer drinker.
It says on the Facebook that you also have Sean Lowry.
Yeah, actually, we do have Sean Lowry. He's more of a session guy these days.
Oh, okay.
He's doing other stuff with some other guys.
Okay.
But he pops his head in on live shows every now and again.
Oh, that's great, man. That gives variety.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Sometimes you get the power trio. Sometimes you get the big rock opera with the keys and the mandolin and the flute that he brings in.
All right, man. So you mentioned Power Trio. Is there a reason why there are the three of you? Did you guys ever talk about getting another member, maybe to add dynamics, or is it working for you?
You know what? We started off just the three of us. It actually started with Johnny and Rob. Me and Johnny were playing in a metal band before.
Okay.
And Rob came over to do some stuff with Johnny just to hang out and record some demo stuff. And Johnny gave me a call, and he was like, "Hey, dude, you want to come over and check this guy out?" So that's kind of where it started. And then we brought Sean in about a year and a half in, and he stayed in for a couple years, and he's doing his own thing now. And I think, I don't know, I think being a four-piece or having that extra person is always wanted. I mean, we always definitely are looking to expand and to have that extra element. But right now, the way that we're feeling right now, it just feels really good to get back to that core, just three guys jamming out type of thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I really I dig the trios. It kind of strips away all the fluff, and it just gives the music something different. Like a Motorhead, I don't think there could be any way that Motorhead could be that awesome with four people.
Yeah, I think when you strip it down to just bass, drums, and guitar and vocals, and there's always the stuff on the recordings, the albums or whatever that, you overdub because you need a little more fullness for a radio cut or whatever. But when you're live, I don't know, I like being a three-piece. It feels good, It's just raw, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, so how does it translate? Sometimes in the studio, gentlemen can be ambitious and start adding things that you can't play live. Have you
Yeah.
have you guys ever stumbled on that? And if you have, how do you guys compensate for that?
You know what we do for the most part? The stuff that gets added in is what would be filled in during the live show by another player, or barring, if it's one of the ones that Sean doesn't play on, or a show that he doesn't make it to, because he's usually the extra piece.
Yeah.
Then we usually just play it the way that we originally wrote it, which is essentially the same as on the album, but without, the layered guitars and whatnot like that. I think there's a place for layered guitar tracks and adding extra little stuff, and I think it's cool to have an album that's really well produced and all that stuff. But my personal feelings on it is I like things to be super simple. Just, play it live, play it on the album, clean it on the album, make it a little shinier, but, kind of keep it the same. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, man, that mentality is really awesome, especially in a live setting. I mean, it's quick, simple, to the point.
Oh, yeah.
It really hurts my brain sometimes when these people they just add so much to these songs. I mean, for the longest time, Slipknot just did not hit me the way it hit everybody else. I thought it was just a bunch of noise and nonsense. It took me years to actually understand like why they needed 9 people in a band.
Yeah.
And
Well,
go ahead, sorry.
I would say there's times that, there's only 4 guys playing,
Yeah.
and then the other 5 are just beating the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Which is an awesome show. I mean, that Slipknot show, that's an awesome show.
Yeah, man. Me and my wife and a couple friends went to Knotfest this year, and we saw them both nights, and it was incredible.
Nice. I'm envious. I don't get out to concerts very much anymore.
Yeah, we actually only went to 2 concerts this past year. I mean, last year hit us pretty hard, but it was Slipknot, and it was a 2-day festival. I mean, it was brilliant. It was beautiful. My goodness.
Yeah. Was that the one in Bakersfield?
No, that was actually the one in San Bernardino.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right, out in the hills.
Yeah, it was.
I heard about that. There was a lot of talk about that one.
Yeah, man, there were 50,000 people there. There was 2 days. That like most all of the major acts that are touring right now came through that and just blew everybody away, man.
Yeah, I heard it was pretty epic.
Yeah, it was an event. It wasn't a concert. It was an event, and that right there is a testament to Slipknot and their ability to produce that great show.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what is the Otter House?
The Otter House is our home away from home, where we do all of our rehearsing, recording, everything we do, our partying, whatever we're gonna do. Me and Johnny had the old podcast that we're not doing anymore, but that's where we would do that, in the Otter House. I have my shot glass, the christened otter shots from Monterey Bay, just a ceramic shot glass with otters on it, and it's kind of the unofficial mascot of the band.
Well, that's awesome. And it says that you guys recorded it in. I'm sorry. It says that you guys recorded your album at the Otter House. So you did all the DIY kind of stuff yourself.
Oh yeah, everything we've done up to this point has been DIY, except for the first album. I believe we had mastered somewhere,
Okay.
and I'm pretty sure that's about it. Because yeah, I mean, I recorded, in cargo shorts and a sleeveless tee with the front door open, just DI and headphones on.
Yeah,
So, and
man.
it was great too. It was awesome. It was a sweet vibe. We were chilling, and it was it's the way I like to record. I've been in studio before, and I honestly prefer home recording. I think it's just warmer. It's like a better vibe because you're there with your buds, and you're jamming out. Yeah, you want to get your track perfect and spot on and everything, but you can feel the love in it a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have a studio in my second bedroom. I have everything to record a metal record if I wanted to. Um,
Nice.
and it's completely changed the way I look at music as a whole. I mean, I actually had to start learning how to play guitar and bass and everything like that because I was a drummer, and it was just it opened my eyes to what a musician is. In my opinion, I can actually call myself a musician now that I've done that, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a bass player, so I keep my stuff simple, but I know what you're saying. I mean, it's a whole different thing. Is once you kind of look at it at a bigger picture thing, you realize that there's so much more there.
Yeah, I used to look at myself as like the idiot in the back, and
That's that's my role 100%.
yeah, and well, the thing is, I never actually did the whole big picture thing. I kind of left that up to the other guys and just played my drums.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I actually threw myself into a project and I was like, oh my god, I can be that guy. and
Oh yeah, I definitely think that all musicians have that in them. It's whether you choose to or not, or whether it's your turn or not. For me, with the album, I give my notes here and there, but when it comes down to it, we're getting ready to record a third album, hopefully
nice,
soon.
nice.
We've got a lot of stuff. We're already getting track listing and stuff like that. But when it comes to the production side of things, I just I record my parts and then I just wait for somebody to give me an edit. I get a
Okay.
copy, I give them my notes, and I hand it back to them, and that happens once, maybe twice, and then I hear it when it comes out, and I like it that way because it takes the responsibility off of me,
Yeah.
and at the same time, it kind of streamlines it because I would definitely be in there 24/7, just hacking away and trying to make it what I want it to be. And I trust these guys. What they come out with might not be what I would have come out with as an end product, but I trust them to come out with an end product that represents the band.
So you mentioned that you hand in your notes. So you're not the engineer or the editor or anything like that. Who does those jobs?
That would be Johnny Serpa. He comes in and we record everything. We multi-track. This next album, we're kind of going to try and record live.
Oh,
It's going to be a
nice.
big, undertaking. But yeah, we typically we multi-track. We get it done over the period of however many days or months that it takes to get it done, and then he goes in and jumps on Pro Tools or whichever program he uses and starts doing this and that, and then Rob will come in and they'll work on it together a little bit, and then Rob will give him his notes and whatnot. And pretty much Johnny's the overall producer.
Yeah.
He's the one twisting the knobs.
Yeah, that's great. I'm working with a gentleman now. We're trying to produce an album, and right now there's nothing that I'm doing other than playing the drums, and it's completely different than what I've been doing for the past 2 years, and it's so great.
Isn't it? It's
Yeah.
freeing, right?
Yeah, it's nice to not have to worry about, oh man, that snare's way too high. It's just playing, and it's so liberating, and I can focus on just one thing instead of like 9 million.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I know what it's like to be stretched thin mentally and physically, on a project. But it's good sometimes. You get to stretch those muscles.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's really nice to be able to relax and just do what you love, and then let somebody else worry about the tweaking of it.
All right, so Your last album, what is the name of that album?
The second album is In the Dark.
In the Dark?
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's got a picture of Rob Avalos literally in the dark.
So how was the reception for that? I noticed there's a lot of press clippings on your websites. How has the reception been for that release?
It's been actually pretty good. There's a lot of people that have taken notice of it that, with the first album, we were pushing it pretty hard and we were getting out there, and we're doing that with the second album too. But I mean, we don't even have physical copies of the second album because it kind of was a waste of money at one point. It's good to have it for nostalgia,
Yeah.
but we wanted to invest our money into other things like equipment upgrades and stuff. So the second album, we've gone digital only for the time being, and we've actually seen probably as good, if not a better response without having physical copies to hand out.
Oh,
Or
really?
to sell at shows. And yeah, and we haven't played that many shows since we released it, and we're getting noticed by a lot more people around the valley and outside of the valley than we did before when we were really, really pushing and shoving. We're kind of, I don't want to say we're comfortable, but we're kind of, I guess we are, we're never comfortable with where we're at because we're always wanting to do more.
Yeah.
But with the reception that the second album's gotten, it kind of shows us what I've been saying for a while, is that we can do what we love, and the people that are going to notice it are going to be the people that we want to notice, and it'll happen naturally.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear, man. It's nice that you're doing a different business model than most of the bands out right now. Like you said, the CD thing is nostalgia. I personally collect the CDs, and I love having that stuff in my hands. But for my releases, alone, I actually made it to where it was all digital and it was on Bandcamp, and I left it that way. There was no fluff or anything like that. If you wanted to download, you can download. If you didn't, well then, I tried to get you to be my fan.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. I mean, it's cost effective. It's the new digital distribution model. I mean, it's the stuff that when I was 15, 16, I was like, oh, that's not the future. That won't take off because everybody wants a physical copy in their hand.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't actually own something. When, I mean, in reality, technically nobody owns it anyways except for the artist. So whether it be a physical copy or an MP3, it doesn't matter. But then as soon as MP3 started becoming prevalent, I mean, I was ripping CDs onto my computer as soon as I got a computer with a CD drive, honestly.
Yeah. Same
so
here,
as soon
man.
as that happened, I was like, okay, so that is the future. But like you said, I have hard copies. I have physical CDs from everything I've recorded up until this project, because it's even stuff I actually got kicked out of a band, and I have like 5 copies of that CD. It makes me feel good because I didn't pay for them, but so every time I find a copy laying around or in a filing cabinet or something like that, I'm like, oh, that cost him $8. But at the same time, I'm proud of my bass playing on it, So it's something that I can hold in my hand and say, I did this.
Yeah, man. I have hard copies of everything I've done up until this point, and I really enjoy having those. I mean, some of them were on a tape recorder, like one of those interview tape recorder things, and yeah, and it was transferred onto a computer program that was just trash and burned. But it shows where I was and how far I've come, and it kind of centers me when I'm needing some inspiration. Like, if I can do that back then I can do so much more now. And it kicks me in the ass and lets me go.
Well, it's good to have a reference point too. You can see where you came from, and a lot of times when I listen back to stuff that I thought was horrible trash that I recorded a long time ago, because I record a lot of stuff just jamming on my computer, playing along with drum tracks or anything like that, and I'll record it, and I've got like 5 external hard drives full of random crap laying around everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And every once in a while I'll be going through them, and it'll be like, okay, here's a picture of me when I was 16 riding a horse back when I had hair and stuff. Cool. Oh, look, there's like an entire song I wrote. I don't remember hearing that, and that was like 15 years ago. You know.
Yeah.
So and then you listen to it and you're like, yeah, it's not the greatest. It's bad technology and it's rough playing because it was so long ago. But at the same time, I can see where my head was at, you know, and it's a really cool reference point musically.
Yeah, it takes you back to that point, and like I've recently found lyrics that I wrote in high school, and I'm not going to lie, I was an angry little shit. I mean, right now when I write lyrics, I do not cuss. It makes me think of better ways to convey an emotion. And,
it makes you more creative.
Yeah, but back then it was, you know, F this, F that, you know, I hate you and all this nonsense. And I look at those and I was like, I'm so happy I'm not that guy anymore.
I wish I used to write constantly. That's what I did before I started playing bass. Is I would write and I would edit other people's writing and stuff like that. And this is, you know, when I was a teenager, so I wasn't anything fancy, but I was, you know, I had a pretty good grasp on the English language, and I wrote some really good stuff that I remember thinking, this is really good, being told by some people, this is really good, and I had a few poems published and whatnot. But
oh, nice.
After that, I mean, that was the what do you call the diamond in the rough? Because I was a stereotypical, you know, teenager. So there was a whole lot of exactly what you just described about yourself on there.
Yeah.
There was a whole lot of thinly veiled, oh, I want to date this girl, but she doesn't know I exist type stuff also, along with the good stuff. So I wish I literally have maybe 3 pages of writing in it, and it was creative writing stuff from like typing class. That used to be a thing.
Yeah. I
wish
that.
I had any of my like actual writing. It's all been destroyed since then.
Oh, that sucks, man. Sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, we're going to take a break, and then when we get back, we'll get into more conversation, all right?
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, brother. And cut. All right, brother. How you feeling so far?
Yeah, not bad, man.
All right, awesome. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Whatever you want to talk about. I'm pretty much an open book. I just like doing this.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I've noticed in me doing the few that I've done, I think this is my 7th interview, and yeah, it's just really fun to see how the conversation takes form, and then there's a point in the conversation where like familiarity sets in and it like busts wide open. It's great.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's really addicting.
Oh yeah, I mean, once you start podcasting, you never want to stop. That's why, I mean, if you want to talk about mine and Johnny's old podcast, we can talk about that. But yeah, I mean, it's a bug that you get, and I've had it for, I think we started that one like 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Oh wow.
And we ran for about a year, and I've worked on 6 podcasts now. I've only been a voice on 3, but I've worked on 5 or 6.
Oh,
I do pre-production for one, and I do, you know, audio cleaning for another and stuff like that.
That's amazing, man. I'm doing this on my own.
Oh yeah, that's that's a project, man. I'll tell you what, the Firefly podcast. Oh god, I put so many hours into each episode.
Yeah, man. I would love to talk about that Firefly podcast. It's an interesting concept. I'm not sure if I've got it fully though. From what I heard, are you guys like doing acting on there, or are you just talking about the show?
Oh no, we're full on like playing roles. It's basically what it is Dungeons and Dragons, but Firefly.
Oh, dude, who's the dungeon master?
It's a friend of mine, Acer. He's a blind lawyer from Sacramento, actually.
Oh, dude, that's amazing.
So yeah, right now it's 4 of us all in the same time zone. 3 of us in different states and 1 of us in a different country.
Wow, where's that country?
He's in Canada right now,
nice.
But he jumps back and forth between Canada and Washington. But we're all Pacific time zone, so it works out.
Oh, that's great, man. So how do you guys come up with those stories?
Honestly, it's the GM. It's Acer, the game master. He comes up. When we first made it, it was my concept was to just do a role-playing game with this new system that had just come out, the Firefly role-playing game from Margaret Weiss Productions.
Is that the one with the voice actors being the cast of Firefly?
No, see, that's a different thing. That's why it's so awesome to be a browncoat right now, because there's so much going on with Firefly.
Yeah,
is that
very much.
There's the Firefly Online, which is what you're talking about, where you have Sean Maher and everybody from the cast. Will State just did an interview. Marina Baccarin just did an interview. Everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
And then some other people. I forget his name, but the guy who played Worf on The Next Generation, he's doing some voice parts.
Oh, nice. That's
so
awesome.
I mean, there's a ton of people. The guy, like your guy on screen, the guy that you're walking around controlling, and his voice, if you choose the male character, is Will Wheaton.
Really?
So I mean, you've got Wesley Crusher is the voice of your character.
Nice.
So I mean, it's just super awesome looking. But yeah, that's the online game, and as a matter of fact, I'm actually going to be playing that game just on my own. But the ship from Firefly Podcast is going to be my ship name in Firefly Online, and we're going to be running events to where anyone who listens to the podcast and also plays the game can join in with us to do a mission or to be on the crew or stuff like that. Make it fully interactive across as many areas of media that I possibly can make it.
Nice, man. That's really cool. It's actually a really good idea. So, how did you find Firefly, and what drew you to that show?
A buddy of mine, Matt, who's now a pastor at a church in Reedley, we went to high school together, and he told me about it. I don't remember when. I don't remember if it was back then when it was on or if it was after the fact, because I'm not a huge sci-fi geek, but I do like good sci-fi. I love Firefly. The Next Generation is great. Star Wars is awesome. I like good sci-fi. And I never believed him. I never took him at his word for it. And I don't know why, because we've got very similar tastes. And I picked it up years and years later. I think somebody loaned me a DVD, and then I picked it up then, and I watched the entire series in one night like everyone does,
Yeah, man, that's addicting. You can't stop that.
Oh, man, I think I've watched it over the years. I think I've probably watched it like 30 or 40 times. It's gotten to the point that my wife has agreed to watch it with me so that she can watch the movie. And then, like, my daughter knows who people are, but I haven't let my daughter watch the movie.
Oh, okay.
Because she's only 10, and I think she can handle it, but I think it's a little bit much for her.
Yeah, it's a little bit much for
couple more years, and then maybe she can work up to that.
So yeah, man, me and my wife found that on Netflix a couple years ago, and we sat down, we watched the first episode. I'm like, what is this? Why is this a thing? So we finished watching it, and at the end of the season, I'm like, wait, what happens? Where are we going? And
right?
Yeah, it was so abrupt, and like there was no explanation for it whatsoever. And then I found out that it was like 10 years old at the time. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, and that's the thing. If Netflix had been around, a couple years, even 3, 4, 5 years after it got canceled, and after the movie was made, if Netflix had been a force then as they are now, to where they can resurrect the show, I think it would have already been done. But now it's too late, because all the actors are on to bigger and better things. They keep coming back for things like Firefly Online and stuff like that, and the conventions and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, that would have been so awesome. And I believe, I might be mistaken, but this is Twitter law here, that Firefly is going to be off Netflix as of April 1st, I believe. I could be wrong.
That's nonsense.
Yeah, I hope not, because then I'm going to have to download all the episodes again.
Well, actually, funny story is my wife found the board game on thinkgeek.com.
Oh, yeah.
For Christmas, that's all she wanted. She begged for it, and I'm like, all right, you know what? I love you, and that's what you're going to get. So I got the board game and all of the expansions, and I was sitting at work one day, and I was like, that's not enough. We're going to have the board game. We don't own the DVD, like the set. But they sell the set at like Walmart for $10.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's cheap as hell, and it's like this is amazing. Like it, we have the DVDs now, so we're set. But damn Netflix.
Yeah, and I heard that they're going. I think April is like the beginning of one of their quarters or something, and they go through contracts all the time. Like right now, Archer just released a new season, and I think it's 2 seasons behind or something.
Oh wow.
But then there's other shows on there that are like 5 seasons behind, and they haven't released an episode on Netflix since. So it's like they have really weird contracts with people. And
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that once Firefly does drop, they're going to bring it back fairly quickly.
yeah, they did that with Doctor Who. They were like they're gonna take the entirety of the new reboot of Doctor Who off of Netflix, and
Yeah.
like the entire internet blew up, and they're like, you can't do that. It's Doctor Who.
Exactly. It's like you have to pay enough money to secure that license because that's why we have Netflix.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly why. I mean, I wouldn't know half the shows that I've known now if it wasn't for Netflix and Hulu. I mean, have you actually ever heard of Farscape?
I did, and I have heard of Farscape, and I actually watched part of it when it first came on, and then I think it was one of those that I just lost track of.
Oh, they actually have Farscape on Netflix, all 4 seasons, and the bad part about that one is it also ends abruptly. Like the last episode of the 4th season, just it ends, and there was like a short movie or like a TV movie or whatever that is for it, but they don't have it on Netflix, and it's infuriating. And
Oh, that's
yeah,
brutal. So you get through 4 seasons of that, and then you can't find out the ending.
yeah, and it was terrible. I mean, at least with when I watched Firefly for the first time, I watched Firefly and then I immediately watched Serenity, and it was
Yeah,
like
and
it was a type
it's
of
still on
closure.
there.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I think I don't know. I know there's people, as a matter of fact, I know people on Twitter that they specifically have not watched Serenity because they don't want it to be over for them. But the way I think of it, and the way that we do it on Firefly Podcast, the storyline that we came up with, that was the idea, was we're playing after Serenity.
okay.
So we're characters in the universe, in the verse, that are dealing with the fallout from what happens at the end of Serenity, and it's a couple months basically. So it's post Signal, and
Yeah.
everybody knows everything, and now you have to live in the verse where people are trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong.
So you mentioned that your ship name in the podcast would be your ship name on the online game. What is your ship's name?
The ship is actually the Steel Reserve.
Really?
It is.
Is that based off of the alcohol Steel Reserve?
It definitely is.
Oh
And
man, that's brutal.
if you listen to the episode that came out yesterday, which we're at a couple hundred downloads already, which I'm super impressed with.
Congratulations.
The beginning of that. Thank you. The beginning of episode 2 is us fighting over naming the ship and then screwing it up.
Oh, that's amazing, man. I don't know whether to be impressed or just be sorry for you guys because Steel Reserve is so bad.
Isn't it right? See, and that's my tastes run to the cheaper, stronger side of things. Like back when I smoked $3 menthols, and when I drink $3 wine and $2 malt liquor, stuff like that. I love the McRib to death. I can't help it. I'm just a cheap date.
Hey man,
But
more power to you. When I would smoke, I smoked Camel Whites for the longest time, and then I smoked Marlboro Smooths because they tasted like mint.
right, tastes like those Andes chocolate mints.
Yeah, and I told my wife, I was like, if I would ever go back smoking, it'd be because of that. And then lo and behold, I started smoking again for a year and a half and just destroyed my lungs.
Oh man, see,
Yeah.
I just recently quit, so I've got to stay away from it.
Yeah, man, I actually quit in April of last year, and I've been doing very well. It's it
That's
helps
good, man.
out. Yeah, man, it helps out. But I have not quit drinking. I recently found that beer is decent, and I like the darker beer.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I used to drink Steel Reserve. I drink I think it was the 20-ounce cans. I drink half of it at a time because I could not stand it. So I'd get like psych myself up, and then drink half of it, and then smoke like 10 cigarettes, and then smoke drink the other half of it so that I could get
You're like
through it.
you were on a mission. You had a job to get done.
Yeah. People don't understand that. It's cheap and it gets you where you need to go, but it's so horrible.
See, and that's my thing. Is well, I'm 30 something, and I was smoking for 20 something years. So
Ooh.
I mean, I started when I was a kid.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I think I started smoking a pack a day when I was like 15, 14, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Because I dropped out of school and I went to work full time by that
I
time.
gotcha.
So I mean, like I thought myself a grown up. You know? So I've basically destroyed whatever sense of smell and taste that I have. So for me, Steel Reserve it's a little bit of the harsher one.
Yeah.
It's no Country Club. That one will kill you.
You know,
But I mean, I could put down a Four Loko, Steel Reserve, pretty much any of the stuff that everyone else takes a sip of and gags, and then they hand it to me because that's what I sip there sipping like other people sip Coors Light.
see, I really liked the watermelon Four Loko before they changed it.
Oh yeah.
That was really good, and that'd get you there fairly decent.
One will put you to sleep, two will put you in a coma, and three will put you in the grave.
Yeah,
That's
no
why you
kidding,
never,
man.
That's why you never get to four.
But yeah, man, Steel Reserve. That's a great name. I dig the name, and that's really awesome. But yeah, like I said, man, bad memories from Steel Reserve. So right now we'll take a break, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more. All right.
All right, sounds good.
All right, brother. All right, man. So how you doing?
Oh, not too bad. I'm actually gonna grab a drink real quick, if I could.
All right. So is there anything else you want to talk about? That was actually pretty decent talk.
Let me think. I mean, we covered the band, we covered the podcast. Maybe just toss a couple of plugs, and whatever follow-up questions you had.
Well, actually, maybe we could talk about podcasting itself.
Oh yeah,
for this
definitely.
last one, and then maybe take a break and then come back and do the plugs for you and everything like that.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds perfect. Let me get some water here real quick.
All right, man. Just tell me when you're ready, and then we'll jump right back into it.
All right, let me jump back in the bedroom. Whenever I'm doing any recording or anything, I sequester myself to my bedroom, where my mic and my PC and everything are.
Yeah, man. My second bedroom's my sanctuary. Has everything in it.
All right, let me plop back down in my spot here. Oh, I've got like the tiniest of corners for all my stuff. Stuck between a dresser and a nightstand.
Well, it does what you need it to, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice.
I mean, it'd be nice to have a whole booth and everything, but alrighty.
All right, man. So, I wanted to know, how did you get into podcasting? What drew you to it?
I mean, I knew about podcasting. I knew it was a thing, but I never listened to any podcasts or researched them or anything until I became a truck driver. And then podcasting became a way of life. Because when you're driving truck, you can't be using your data up on your phone because you need it for your maps and whatnot and to call home. And at the same time, you go insane without entertainment.
Yeah.
So I just happened into an iPhone, which I'm not an Apple guy, but it was free.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I was like, it was back when they were still doing free phones with a contract, and it was actually a decent phone for the time. And the iPhone podcast app was like, it blew me away. It's like the best thing ever. And I have an Android now. I actually have a Windows phone now while I wait for my Android to be replaced by the insurance, which sucks. But no podcast app has compared to it. And so whatever anybody wants to say, the iPhone does one thing right, and that's the podcast app. And that became my bread and butter for my entertainment from that point till now. And it's been 5 years now, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, podcasts have been around since, I want to say, like 2004-ish was when the first one started coming out.
It was fairly early on when they started coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I actually, I stumbled on Chris Jericho's podcast.
Oh, the wrestler?
Yeah, the wrestler. He has a podcast.
Oh,
It's
okay.
called Talk is Jericho. And he has wrestlers, he has musicians. There's a couple of porn stars that he has on there. Like
He just gets everybody.
yeah, it's eclectic and it's really, really awesome. And
Well, that's cool.
yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, this guy makes money off of talking to his friends about things that I like talking about. Maybe
yeah,
I could do that. And I was like, I really, really enjoy it. It's a really good idea, especially if you have an opinion or you're actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's always been my problem, is you have to be slightly educated in the subject to be able to, excel at the podcast. And I'm almost slightly educated on everything, but not slightly educated on anything. I know enough to get myself into trouble, but not enough to get myself out.
Nice, man. Well, yeah. I've been in local bands for like 10 years, and I've made a bunch of friends and everything, so I love talking about music. That's how this whole thing came about. And the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't convince myself that it was a bad idea.
Oh, yeah. It's never a bad idea. If you're having fun and you're being productive and you're being creative, then it's going to be great,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many listeners or downloaders that you have, as long as you have some. If you've got 10 people that pick up your show every time it comes out, to me as a podcaster, that's a success. If
Yeah,
you have 10,000, hey, even better. But it's the same way. Being a podcaster is the same way as being a musician. When you're playing a show at a cheap bar downtown and 5 people show up, you should play that show the same way as when you're playing the one where 500 people show up.
Yeah, exactly, man. And it's really nice to have that outlet and to have that mentality. It's very odd to see most of these musicians that don't have it. I've played to one person. I've played to 20, 30, like 100 people, and it was always the same amount of fun. It never actually changed, because if you can convert somebody, then you're doing your job properly.
Oh yeah, definitely. In fact, we played a show at a tower area venue that we literally were playing to not even our friends. It was like our singer's wife, a drummer's girlfriend, and I think somebody's cousin was there. And that was it. It was like a rainy Tuesday between Christmas and New Year. So like nobody was going to show up. Yeah, but we thrashed it and we killed it, and it was fun. And, we had a good time and went home.
Yeah, those smaller shows where there's not a lot of turnout, you actually have a little bit more leniency and can have more fun. At least in my...
Yeah, because then you're in a private party scenario, so where the only people there are literally there for you.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want,
Yeah, we had a friends band that did a CD release party, and we were on after them, so most of the crowd left and everything. But what we did was we actually invited the band the bands, sorry, and we invited them on stage and played Three Little Pigs from Green Jelly.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and we went up there and we just had fun. There's pictures on the internet that's just it's incredible, and that was like the epitome of a show for me. Especially now, it's one of my favorite shows I've ever played.
Yeah. See, and that's the cool thing about playing with people that have good attitudes and stuff. And like we've had a few really stellar shows to where it was just really cool people, and it didn't matter who else was there.
Yeah.
We had the people that came to see them, the people that came to see us, and we stayed and watched them. They stayed and watched us, and we talked and jammed together and had fun. And it's the camaraderie and connecting with other people that really makes it worth it,
Yeah, I completely understand, man. Back when I was playing shows and everything, that was one of the best parts. Um, have you actually? Do you guys have bands that if you see that you're on the same bill, you instantly get excited?
Yeah, actually, we had, for me personally, anyways, we had Tyler Jakes. He's from back east, and he came through a couple years ago and played a show over at Audie's Olympic, and it was probably one of the best shows that I've been to or played in. It was just awesome. I mean, the guys in the band were awesome. Tyler's a super awesome dude, and he came through again this year, and everything just kind of fell apart. And I think our singer ended up going and doing an acoustic opening set for him
Okay.
because everyone's schedule fell apart. Like it was double booked, and there were so many complications. And that was one of those things. Like as soon as I found out that he was coming to town, I was like, "Sweet, Tyler's coming to Fresno. We're gonna play with him," you know.
Yeah.
But it didn't work out, and it was supremely disappointing. So yeah, I mean, he's one of them. We've only played one or two shows with them, but Basura, they're really really good. I like what they do. They're like mariachi punk ska, and
Okay.
it's super weird and super awesome. I love it. We get put with a lot of bands that are kind of, what do you say? Like I don't know if they're indie bands because some of them are well, I guess depends on how you define indie, right?
Yeah.
But they're not shoegaze or soft rock or anything like that. But they're just like eclectic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We for some reason nobody knows how to define what we do, and it's probably because we do a whole lot of everything. And so we end up, I mean, we could play with a full-on classic country band one night and like an AC/DC style band the next night, you know.
Yeah. That.
So it's pretty cool to be able to do that. Now we don't get paired up with metal bands very often.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're apparently too soft for the metal crowd.
See, I
Which
don't.
is,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, which is like I understand that, but me and Johnny are metalheads through and through. Like that's what we do on the side is we play sludge metal when Rob's not there. So like we're playing Down and Corrosion of Conformity and like attempting to do Sabbath and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got
But
you.
just for fun because that's where we come from. That's our root. So like that kind of comes through in the two of our playing.
Yeah. See, I never understood that. Personally, when I go to a show, I really enjoy the shows that are different and have different style bands across the board. Um, like here in Tulare and Visalia, they have like this deathcore scene going on, and all of the bands that are coming out right now are deathcore and metalcore and all those different kind of cores.
Yeah,
Um,
all the many cores.
yeah, the problem is like I don't have a problem with the bands. It's great and everything. But I do really enjoy seeing a different side of things. I mean, I really enjoyed like Knotfest, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Um, the second night there was Five Finger Death Punch, there was Slipknot and Volbeat, and then there was also Tech Nine there, and it just blew me
Oh,
away.
are you kidding me?
I am not kidding. It was his first
Dude,
metal festival.
I only have like 5 Pandora stations programmed in, and one of them's Tech Nine.
Yeah, I was skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a big fan of rap in any sort of way. But I was like, if Slipknot thinks he's good enough to be on their festival, then I need to give him a shot. And he blew me away, man. I
Oh,
was
he's insane. He's awesome.
Yeah, and the greatest part was Five Finger Death Punch had him featured on their cover of Mama Said Knock You Out, and
Yeah.
yeah, and they came out and they performed it with him, and it
Oh
was
man,
yeah, man, it was just incredible.
I'm gonna have to find a YouTube video of that. 'Cause
um,
I know it exists somewhere. Somebody was streaming it or recording it. Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
somebody was. But back to my point is I just don't understand why there has to be a separation. I personally think that you should be able to cross over, especially like you were saying with your eclectic style. You should be able to cross
yeah.
over and play all of these different types of concerts without being repressed or looked over.
Well, it's the old way of thinking. It's the genre bias that everyone has always had in the music industry, whether it be from the garage level all the way up to the corporate. there's like enjoys like, but that's not always true. I mean, that's why festivals, like you're saying with Knotfest, then you look at Lollapalooza and all these other things, they just bring in so much money and so many cool bands because they have the variety, because they have the big names. I mean, look at Coachella. Coachella's ridiculous how many bands they have.
Yeah.
And you've got guys from, Florence and the Machine, and then you've got, wasn't Jay-Z there one year or something like that?
I believe so.
It's a crazy mix, you know?
Yeah, and go ahead.
Oh, no, go for it.
Yeah, it benefits the fans and the bands because it gives you an opportunity to get to somebody that you wouldn't have got to any other way. And
yeah,
you
like,
basically
would you have known about Tech Nine if you hadn't have seen him?
No, actually, I wouldn't have even given him a chance. And through that, I learned a valuable lesson. I mean, there's great music in every genre. You just have to look hard enough, and you have to give it your time and an open mind. And
I think that's really good advice.
Yeah, and it's a sad thing that it took me so long to figure that out. But since then, man, I was, I've been trying to soak up as much as I can. And I do have definite dislikes. I'm not going to lie. I do not like country. I don't understand it is my problem. I can't relate to it. And that's the biggest part for me.
Well, I'm right there with you on as far as modern country goes. I don't think that there's been country since maybe the mid '60s.
Oh, really?
Like, I don't. Maybe the '70s. I don't know. Whenever Johnny Cash put out his last album, his last album of his original stuff, not the covers album, because those are amazing. Those are a whole different beast.
Yeah.
But, no, I mean with country, it's like the Bakersfield country. That's, to me, after that, country died because. Basically the only thing good that's come out of country in the past 15 to 20 years is Taylor Swift, and that's just because she's hot. Like that's all there is. There hasn't. Garth Brooks. I mean, everyone's going to hate me for saying this. I can't stand Garth Brooks. I can't stand anybody named Travis with a guitar. I don't even. I can't actually name them because I don't listen to them. And I'm not saying they're not talented. Everybody knows they are. It's just that's my dislike, just like for you,
Yeah, well, I chalk it up to I can't relate to the material. Through metal, I'm a metal head myself, and I love metal, any type of metal mostly. But like for me, one of my favorite bands is Death Punch, Five Finger Death Punch, and with their first CD, they had a song called The Devil's Own, and it was talking about family issues, and I heard that and I clung to that. And there's a song called Salvation off that same CD. I have those lyrics tattooed on my arm because that was a huge upper for me because I'm not alone in that ideology that he was talking about.
It meant something to you.
Yeah, and that's what music, the function of music is it's supposed to elicit a reaction. If it's emotional, if it's physical, it has to elicit something. It has to make you feel, and that's one of the greatest parts about the music.
See, and that's something that's super hard to explain to people that either aren't real music fans or aren't musicians themselves. And I know most musicians understand it, but it's the thing where, I mean, you're not playing music to do something, you're doing it to feel something,
Yeah.
Or to make someone else feel something. That's the point of it.
Yeah, it's one of those times where when you're playing and you feel it, you feel the most alive that you can feel doing that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I love the drums. They're so primal, and I can control your heartbeat. I mean...
Oh, dude, I wish I could be a drummer. I've told Johnny 100,000 times that I want him to teach me how to play, and he's got another drum set that's not quite as good as his playing set, his touring set.
Yeah.
But he's offered, if I can pick up a few skins and shells that, I can add on to that, and he'd teach me how to play. But I just don't have the time, and I don't have that left brain, right brain separation thing that you guys do. I can't fathom it. So I stick to bass, but I mean, yeah, definitely. When there's a good show going on, there's a good groove between me and Johnny. it's like you can definitely feel it. You can feel it move the crowd.
Yeah,
You can feel, especially when you're coming from something like, I don't know, something really light and upbeat, and then you just bring it down, or the other way around. Like, you can feel how the music, how what you're doing is affecting people directly in front of you, and it's really, really cool.
yeah. The best part for me is when I'm feeling it on stage, and I just put that extra little bit of effort into it. I mean, you can practice all day, but if you put that little bit extra in, and you see
Yeah,
somebody's eyes light up, or they're not expecting this really heavy part coming up, or they're not expecting this drop into something melodic or mellow or something, it's
yeah.
actually really fun, and it's addicting in and of itself.
There's things that I do on the bass that I only do live, that I don't do on the album, I don't do in practice, I only do them live. And some of them are things that I've done multiple times, and some of them are things that I'll do just the once. And if
Yeah.
it works, it works. And typically when it works really well. I mean, being in the rhythm section, and the bass player is kind of a leading from behind kind of thing.
Yeah.
But on the shows when we're doing a three-piece thing, I get to step out a little bit more, and I get to kind of fill that void and be a little bit more powerful in my sound, which is really great. I maybe that's why I like being a three-piece now, is because I get to shine a little bit more. Not so much shine, but just kind of like I can connect with it a little bit more, instead of having to fill the gaps between everybody and get the timing balanced between everybody.
Yeah.
It's just A to B, and that's it, and it's so simple and powerful.
So what is it that drew you to the bass in the first place?
Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath. That's that's
Now,
a question that I never have to look for an answer for. That is 100% the only reason I picked up the bass.
was there one specific song or like a video that hit you and was like, that's what I want to do?
Oh no, I mean, my dad is a classic rock guy, so AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, 38 Special, all of it.
Yeah.
And so I grew up on that stuff, and my mom was an oldies girl. She liked Twist and Shout and stuff like that. What in the Valley people recognize what 92.9 used to be.
Okay.
Can you give me 1 second? My wife decided to run a vacuum cleaner while I'm recording a podcast.
Hey man, I don't hear anything.
Excuse me, honey. Okay. She just looked at me. This is just this shit-eating grin. I'm almost done. Last room, I swear. So if it's not picking it up on your end, that's fine.
Yeah, that it's good. So yeah, it was just Black Sabbath in and of itself.
Yeah, it really was. I grew up listening to Sabbath. I had all the albums. I had some of them on vinyl back when I had a turntable and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I just always connected with Sabbath, with the detuned guitars, with the crazy bass. I mean, if you listen to Butler, he's playing like a lead guitarist, and then you listen to Iommi, and he's playing like a rhythm player half the time, which is like, that's not the dynamic that a rock band has. The bass player is supposed to be, if he's going to be crazy, he's got to be ant whistle crazy and be crazy in the background,
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Butler's having none of it, and I really, really enjoyed his style. I can't come close to playing. I play with the pick because it's how I do what I do, but I can't play with the pick the way he plays with his fingers. It's ridiculous. Like, I can imitate his style. I mean, I think my entire style is a conglomeration of him and a couple other people, and my own flair on top of that. But when I play Butler lines, I play them the way that I felt them when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it's totally different than the way they're supposed to be played. But that's kind of where I get off. Is playing basically in front of NIB, and not doing it the Primus way, kind of not doing it the Butler way, and just kind of doing it my way, the way that I heard it in my head when I was a kid.
Yeah, that's actually how I learned to play the drums in the first place, was trying to pick up on what Vinnie Paul was doing.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna learn from somebody, Vinnie Paul's a dude to learn from.
Oh yeah, I don't think I will ever learn how to play Becoming because my feet are
Uh,
just I can play double bass until I'm blue in the face, but I cannot
there's just
play
something about
Becoming.
it.
Yeah, he does this little right foot roll thing, and it's just like, what the hell are you doing, man? Please, just slow down a minute so I can know.
Just let me catch up. Just that one part.
Yeah, I just want to know, and it's terrible, but
You
yeah,
know, and then I listen to people like Geddy Lee, and I'm like, in fact on Facebook just the other day I posted. I rarely get on Facebook, but I posted. There's a bass track from YYZ, just an isolated bass track from Rock Band or something like that, and it's insane. Like I've been listening to Rush as long as I've been listening to Sabbath, and it's just ridiculously insane how clean and precise this dude is. And I'm like, I can never even, like 50 years from now, I won't be that close. You know, it's ridiculous how amazing that guy is. But for some reason, like I identify with Geezer Butler 10 times more, even though he's not nearly as technical as the player. You know, I think it's all
yeah.
about the feel of it.
Yeah, see, that's my thing is I started playing the drums because I saw Vinnie Paul playing on Cemetery Gates.
Oh
And
yeah,
yeah, and I was blown away. I was like, that's what I want to do. And then my mother was in the 80s hair metal genre, and
oh nice.
I remember seeing Concert in the Round from Def Leppard, and that was when right after Rick Allen lost his arm, and I was like, he's playing the drums with one arm.
And that's insane, right?
Yeah,
I
it
mean, ridiculous.
Yeah, and my thought when I was that young was if he could do it with one arm, I can do it with two, and I will do it with two arms. And you know, I've become a drummer, and I love the drums so very much.
And see, you know what? I mean, his perseverance and the fact that his band had his back, you know, that's a huge thing about being in a band.
Yeah,
Because if there's ego and fighting and your priorities are in the wrong place and stuff like that, I mean, it's just going to disintegrate. And for them to be there for him when he needed them, and not only that, but to like go above and beyond. Because I mean, if something happened to me to where I lost my hand, or you know, I work on a farm, there's always a danger of me being injured
yeah,
or whatever may happen. You know, we have an understanding in our band that yeah, we are the core members of the band. But if we want to play a show in San Francisco and one of us can't make it, then we might need a fill-in or something. You know, like we are all cool with that.
okay,
But like, if it were to be a more permanent thing, I mean, that would be that's when you hit that wall of okay, well, how good of buddies are we? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like okay, and especially I mean for us it'd be one thing because you know garage bands and local and we play the coast and stuff like that, but we're not making a living off of it. You know, we put more money into it than we pull out of it by far, just like every other band around here.
yeah,
But to be making a living at it and then have that happen and then still stick by him and bring him back in and you know do whatever it took to have him come back on board, that's like true friendship there.
well,
But yeah, I mean, I wonder how many people are inspired by him just like you were. I mean, that dude and that story of the band coming together like that, it's inspiring just in general, let alone to a musician, to a drummer.
yeah. The thing is, he decided to do that. He wasn't gonna let what happened, which was just circumstantial. He wouldn't let that phase him. I mean, I've taken that mentality to my playing more than once, whether it's practicing something hard. I mean, I actually played with a broken foot at one time because we had a show scheduled, and
Yeah,
you know, the show must go on. You have to do it. It's just the nature of the beast. But with the band, they actually made it to where he made the decision whether he wanted to go or whether he wanted to stay, and that in and of itself was very inspiring too because it's like they're family and they're going to stick by his decision, not make it for him.
yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, it showed me what a band should be, and that's what I always tried to be in my band was the guy that we're brothers first. You know, if you need time off, then we'll take time off. If you want to play more shows, then we'll figure that out. You know, it's making making it a family priority instead of an individual priority.
Definitely. I mean, a band, everyone said it, everyone knows that a band is a marriage with, between however many people are in it.
Yeah.
And you've got to deal with the highs and lows of that. And like you said, you got to be, you're my brother, you're my sister first before it comes down to you're my bandmate,
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I really identify with in the Long Black Whales is, like, these guys are my buddies. You know what I mean? We talk whenever I get a chance. I hang out with them on non-band nights, which between the three of our schedules is not as often as I'd like. But I've got 4 kids and I work on a 6-day-a-week job, so it's kind of hard for me to get out of the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's how it is. It's it's a marriage. It's a relationship.
Yeah, most people don't understand that, and I've told people this before, and I still truly believe it. And it's, if you put 4 people in a room and tell them to create, it's going to be the hardest thing in the world. As a band, you're 3 or 4 people trying to create this emotion that you guys have, and you're trying to do it on a level where everybody gets to have their part and their say, and it's one of the most difficult things you can go through as a person.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the approach that we take to writing together, because 90% of the time, Rob has about 6-7 more albums in him.
Wow.
Just currently, yeah. I mean, the songs that people are hearing for the first time on the second album are songs that we've been playing for years in practice, and we've played a few of them in shows here and there. And there's a couple of ones that we wrote together, some new ones, or some ones that we restructured. And then the songs off the first album, Rob had for a long time before he brought them to us. And then we played them for a year before we put the album out. No, maybe it was 2 years. It was a while. Then the stuff on the third album is kind of a mix of the two. So the approach that we're taking to writing now is we're working through Rob's catalog and seeing what fits us at this point, because he's got a lot of stuff, like I said, 6 or 7 albums in his head.
Jeez.
That he's actually got stuff that doesn't fit the band as a whole, that might fit just Rob Avalos,
Yeah.
And some of those might be in the form of him performing them by himself at the end of the disc or something like that. But some of them they just don't work with the band. Just like if I wrote something, it might not work with the band,
Yeah.
So we're sorting through all those and finding what we like and what fits on the album for the concept or whatever. We don't do concept albums. We do feeling albums. So if it feels right, But then the other 3-4 songs, it's stuff that we've been working on bit by bit, piece by piece. Like, practice is over, let's just have a beer and jam on this for a while. Or the middle of practice, I'm frustrated with my tone is just not what it's supposed to be. So you know what? I'm just going to kick the game, and Johnny's going to play a blast beat, and Rob's going to do a solo, and then we're going to find something in the middle of that, and then I'll calm down and we'll jam on it, and then that'll end up being a song someday.
That's actually pretty cool, man. It's nice to have that that you guys are experimenting with different ways to write.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I said, I have the studio and I write by myself, and every time I sit down to try to write a project, I try to do it in a different way and make more restrictions or less restrictions or things like that, because it tests how good of a musician you are, and it also makes you more creative in ways that you didn't think you could be.
Yeah, doing it by yourself, I mean, that's not something that I'm able to do anymore. I don't think I can even really write by myself, because I haven't done it in 20 years, or in 15 years.
Okay.
But I feed so much off of what everyone else is doing that I wish I could sit down and do what you do. I wish I could do that. I used to. I've done it before, and it's come out halfway decent. But I feed off of the people. I can't do it on my own. And so to do it the way that you're doing it, I think, like you said, you have to add or take away restrictions. You have to add a dynamic to make it new and different and refreshing and feel good for you. Because if you just did the same thing over and over again, I mean, eventually even you are going to get bored of your own stuff. And then where do you go from there? So you have to challenge yourself. And, with other people, the challenge is a little bit more gradual, because it's not, okay, I'm going to set, these rules and then this is how I'm going to move forward. It's kind of like, okay, well, Rob got too drunk and he can play his bass just fine, but he can only do it while he's sitting down. So we're going to be playing some slow songs tonight, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie, man. There's a point while writing by yourself that you just miss the camaraderie of writing as a band. Um, for the first couple years, well, I'm sorry, the first couple months that I was doing this, I missed that so very much. It was one of the most difficult times I had, and I just one of the songs for the new album is about depression and like falling into it and how it's just you're becoming extremely cold to the world, and
Yeah.
it that was a product of like missing having a band behind me or in front of me and being able to groove off of them and hear those little nuances you only hear when somebody else is playing and things like that, man. It does get very difficult sometimes.
I can imagine so. And, if I was out of a band in the past 15 years. I think I've been out of a band for maybe 4 of those years, interspersed in between for
Okay.
various reasons. And every time I am, my wife is like, "Hey, you need to find some dudes to play with because when you're not playing music, you're an asshole." Like
Yeah.
it's who we are. We have to be doing it. And so to miss that with other people, I wouldn't be able to feel that the way that you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe if I tried really hard at it and just kind of focused on doing that, maybe I could. But I don't think that I could. I don't think that I could do that. I don't think I could handle it. Like, my bandmates are stuck with me for life, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, man, it is hard, and my wife actually said the same thing multiple times. I almost quit playing drums altogether and just packed it up a few times. I mean, one of the last bands I was in actually almost killed me. It was so bad, and it was toxic, and
Yeah,
it almost killed everything that I enjoyed, and it was terrible. And I ended up getting an electric drum set so that I could practice in my apartment. And from then on, I was like, I can't. This is ingrained in me. There's no way I can stop this. It's
yeah, it's part of who you are. I mean, when you're a musician, you're a musician. That's just how it is.
Yeah, and people will ask me, they're like, "Are you doing anything?" It's like, of course I'm doing something. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean I'm not doing
Yeah,
something. I have to. It's like, is your blood pulsing? Are you breathing right now? It has to be done.
yeah, exactly. It That's what it is. It's as necessary as breathing.
Yeah, man,
I
and
I think it comes down to a quality of life issue for people that are artistic, whether it be painting or singing or playing drums or anything. I mean, even what you're doing now with the podcasting, what I do with the podcasting, it's an outlet, it's output, it's a way to express yourself, and our personality types require that. Whether it be the lead singer personality type that needs other people, and forgive me, Rob, but this is the personality stereotype where it needs other people to see what you have,
yeah,
to appreciate what you have, and or if it's kind of what I think is the rhythm section mindset of I have something inside me and I have to get it out. And
yeah.
I know that goes across all musicians, but it's just that thing to where you have to be doing it.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about art is you see a piece of yourself or you're giving a piece of yourself to somebody, and you're extremely vulnerable at that point, and it takes a certain kind of person to be able to do that and be confident in that. And it also takes an extremely eccentric person to be an artist. I mean,
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
it's extremely it's a very hard person to be. I mean, there at some point there's two people inside of me. There's a person that wants to be normal and have that family life and focus on doing good. And then there's that artist guy, and he's just like, you need to do something. It needs to come out.
Yeah.
If you do not do this, I'm going to hurt you.
And finding a balance is really difficult. Like, I've got 4 kids, a 6-day a week job, like I said before, and I have that like in spades to where I I want to be like, I think I own one polo shirt that's not a work shirt, just because I'm not that dude. I'm not polo shirt, knee sock dad.
Yeah.
But I go out with my friends, and we go out to take the kids to the park with our friends and their kids, or just do family stuff, go to the zoo or whatever. And I see that dad, and I see him having a good time and all that stuff, and I think, man, it would be nice to be that guy sometimes, But then at the same time, I'm like, man, I need to get home so I can edit that podcast, right? I need to get home because band practice is in 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's borderline obsession, and very few people understand having that in your life, and the ones that do understand it and don't have it in their lives are very, very envious of that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know some people that I don't associate with anymore that were that exact way.
So I'm sorry, I was gonna ask a question and then I forgot it. But yeah, man, it's one of those things that's great, and like you said, it's a way of life, it's a quality of life, really, and to keep that in check is wonderful.
Definitely.
All right, man, so we're gonna take a break and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more. All right?
All right, cool. So how are you, like, hosting and stuff like that?
I'm sorry?
I was going to say, how are you hosting and doing all that, the iTunes and everything like that?
Well, actually, I decided to do a different way. I was going to use SoundCloud because SoundCloud is, SoundCloud. I've seen multiple podcasts on there, and it's really easy to use. But at current time, I'm poor, and I do not have $15 a month for unlimited space.
Yeah, that's why I avoided them.
So what I found was people actually used Bandcamp as a podcast forum. They'd upload it and they'd let download and everything like that. I use Bandcamp. I like Bandcamp, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do that, and I'll put that. I'll make my own RSS feed in case I want to change things. And I'm going to add it to iTunes as soon as I get a release date and everything like that. So that's
cool.
as far as I've gotten.
Yeah, what I did is I used archive.org to host all the files for TRS Pod, the old podcast.
Yeah.
And it's free hosting, and the only thing is you don't own the rights to it. Everything's Creative Commons. But, I mean, it's a podcast. We're not trying to sell them. We're just putting them out,
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I opened a Blogger to list everything, and I pointed the RSS feed at the Blogger, so it just, like, it was a workaround way, but everything was free. So I was like, oh, sweet. Now with Firefly, I'm using Libsyn because I want, stats and all this other stuff because it's kind of a major project for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's $20 a month I don't have. But I'm hoping for some help from the fans eventually. But we're not going to ask for it until right now. We're running, I think 500 downloads total between the first 2 episodes. So
congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, it's pretty decent numbers, but I'm not going to be asking people for money until we're probably 4 or 5 episodes in.
Yeah,
then we're gonna run a Patreon, and then hopefully that'll cover the cost for me because like everyone else in the valley, I'm poor.
Yeah. See, my problem right now is I want to do this because I enjoy it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had fun in the past hour. I've really enjoyed this.
I love doing this, and you've been awesome to talk to.
Well, thank you very much. But the thing is, I know that you can monetize a podcast at some point. And like, I don't want to be overzealous and be like, I want to do this for money, but hey, if I can turn this into a job, then I'm not going to fight that. I'm going to fight for it. And
if I could do this or play in my band or a combination of the two, and I could do that 6 days a week and that would pay my bills, I would be doing that right this second.
Yeah, see, I mean, and the thing is, I'm trying to develop a strong base for this before I go crazy for it. And like, I think this is the 7th episode that I've done, and I want to have 5 on release day, and then I want to have 1 subsequently throughout the rest of the week of released week. So I want to like have Local Metal Revolution week. And
that's a pretty good plan. It's pretty unique too. I've never heard of anyone doing that.
Well, yeah, I thought it would be fun. I mean, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of worry right now, but it's slowly picking up and people are slowly starting to realize that I'm trying to help instead of, help me. I'm trying to help everybody else. I'm just trying to have fun right now. And
Yeah, that's a problem we had with the TRS pod. There was a lot of people that didn't. They didn't. I mean, the whole thing was like, we're not asking anything of you except for an hour of your time. We'll buy the
exactly.
beers, we'll buy the pizza. Just come and talk to us and pimp your own stuff. We want to get to know you as a person, and we want you to pimp everything you have. We want to help as much as we can with our listener base, and you know what I mean. That was it. But I don't know if we ever caught traction more than. I mean, we weren't doing the kind of numbers that my new show was doing, but we were doing half that. We were doing decent.
Yeah. Well, I've been lucky. I've had, I think it was 4 bands so far. 1 director. I have a few more friends that are gonna come out. I don't know if you've heard of them, but Low Crawl from Visalia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm really good friends with the singer, and he was the first person I asked about this. And we scheduled something. Hopefully within the week, I have his podcast, and it's gonna be awesome. I love those guys so much. They've been
That'd
nothing
be
but great
cool.
to me. And
Yeah, low crawl is like a Valley staple.
yeah, the Low Crawl, Hate Effects. If you get
Yeah,
down in Bakersfield, State of Insomnia is a staple down there, and um, but yeah, they've been really good for me so far. I haven't done anything much other than like make a logo and a Facebook page and start setting everything up, and like I'm almost at 100 likes, and it's very encouraging to see those kind of numbers considering I don't have any content to share with people.
yeah, definitely. To be honest, I was shocked when episode 1 came out,
Yeah.
and at the end of the first 24 hours, it was 53 downloads, and I was like, holy crap, that's
Wow.
53 unique people on the first 24 hours set.
Yeah,
And
that's
it went down from there. I think the next day was like 25 or something, and then it bounced up and down from there. But I think now it's coming up on like 300 download, and it's only 3 weeks, not even 3 weeks in.
yeah.
So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, that's pretty awesome, and that's all from the work that I did ahead of time, like you're doing.
Yeah.
The creating a presence and what people call creating a buzz, which I hate that term, but it's just letting people know that you're on something and that you're excited about it, and you want them to, hey, this exists, and I'm working really hard on it. So when it comes out, I take a listen to it.
Yeah, man, there's I actually posted when I first made the Facebook, I posted on like 5 of the Facebook chat rooms, and I was like, this is what's happening. I'm booking right now. If you know any musicians that I haven't talked to, send them my way. I'd love to talk to them about their band, about their process. I'm a geek
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff. I love talking about like the inner workings of a band. And within 5 minutes, I actually got a message from this gentleman named Michael, and he's like, "So you're doing this? Have you ever thought about doing radio?" I'm like, "I thought you needed a degree for that." And so he gave me his spiel, and when I get established and everything, I'm gonna try to talk to him again, see if I can get this maybe on a Valley radio that hits like 5,000 people.
That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, man. If you want me to, I can talk to him, see if I can send you his information, and see if you can get that. I don't know if the whole Firefly thing is copywritten and you have to jump through hoops, but I mean, it sounds like fun. It sounds like a kind of War of the Worlds kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. It's. I mean, you definitely you hear us rolling dice. Well, in episode 2, I try to cut the sound of rolling dice as much as I can, but yeah, it's kind of okay. This is where I'm coming from. There's a podcast called Drunks and Dragons, which
Okay.
is super popular. I think their Patreon pulls in something like $3,000 a month or something like that. It's
Jeez.
ridiculous. They have thousands and thousands of listeners. And then there's a excuse me. There is their style of doing it is they play Dungeons and Dragons, and they're goofy and they're funny and they're vulgar and they're hilarious, and they have an ongoing story for the past, like, I think they're like 4 years in or something like that.
Oh, wow.
And they just, yeah, they leave basically everything in. You know, if you watch them live stream the episode, it's like 4 hours long. The actual episode's an hour long, but a lot of the stuff that gets edited out is like, hey, I gotta go take a leak, stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
so they leave in the banter, like all of the off-color jokes, and just basically everything gets put out. And then there's another show, which is Cthulhu and Friends, which is actually my favorite podcast of all time. And they play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game because I'm a big RPG nerd.
Okay.
And the way that they do it, especially in season 2 and season 3 that just started, is the way that they do it is they make it much more like a radio play, and there's licensed music. I mean, the last episode, season 3, episode 1, just came out this a week ago, and it was the name of the episode is "This Is the New Shit," and that is the song that plays during the end of it because there's so much new stuff going on.
You mean Manson? You mean Marilyn Manson? This is the new shit?
Exactly.
Oh,
and so when I saw, and Josh Gentry, the producer of it, he plays one of the main characters on there. Him and his ex-wife, she's the GM, she runs the game. They both have musical taste, especially Josh, though. He's a guitar player from you know, for years and years and years. He's my age, and he's a hell of a guitar player. But he's a guy out in Texas, and he's got really good musical taste. And so the stuff that he puts into the show, him and his crew, they fight over stuff sometimes of what fits and what feels and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, they always put out a very well-produced episode. They always put out something that's going to blow you away, and it's always, they add the soundtrack and the sound effects and the music and all this stuff. Like, it's so proper and it fits so well. So there was one, oh God, their theme song for starting season 2, I believe, is Doomsday by Nero. So it's an EDM. Yeah, you know what that is? It's dubstep. It's full-on dubstep, but it fits the show so perfectly, and a lot of people got thrown by that. But it fits the mood of the show. And so what we try to do is, with Firefly Podcast, is we try to kind of bridge the gap between the two, because I'm not the producer that Veronica and Josh and their sound guy Hiroshi, who's an awesome guy, who was in the first 2 episodes of Firefly Podcast. I'm not the producer that those 3 guys are, or the two guys and a girl. I'm not that. You know, I'm a guy that works on a chicken ranch that plays bass in an odd band out of Selma. You know.
Yeah.
I've never been trained to do anything except for computer stuff. You know, like working on them.
Yeah.
So I'm using Audacity. I'm using everything I do is using free programs because I'm poor. You know, I don't have a million hours in a day to do it. And I'm only one guy. I have to go from start to finish, editing, tweaking, producing, sourcing music, making sure my Creative Commons licenses are in order, paying for the Libsyn account. Everything is on my shoulders. So to balance that, I'm trying to get kind of half of the grit and funny that you get from Drunks and Dragons and half of the good production and soundscape, like radio play quality of Cthulhu and Friends. And so I think with a franchise like Firefly, that's really where it belongs. It's dirty but polished at the same time. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, man. I mean, Firefly, there's so many funny things that they do. I mean, only Joss Whedon would decide to use Chinese instead of cussing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's gritty and it's fun and it's, you know what they're trying to say.
Sense. Oh yeah, you know what they're trying to say just by the inflection, the tone of their voice, and the look on their face. You know, I mean, you know what Wash is saying when his computers go bad. You know, in Serenity.
Yeah.
But he's saying it in very poorly pronounced Mandarin Chinese. So.
But I also know what you're talking about, because like I think it's the first episode, and within 5 minutes, he's talking with his dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
yeah,
it's so silly and slapstick.
Yeah, it's that kind of whimsical nonsense, I guess I would put it, that makes that show so amazing, and I can't wait to hear what you guys are doing with the next episode, man.
Definitely. It's I mean, we try to stay true to that we try to stay true to that feel because we're all brown coats. I'm probably the least educated but most passionate brown coat of the bunch.
Okay.
Because I'm playing with like a coder. I think one of the guys is two programmers and a lawyer. And then
Wow.
in episode 1 and 2, Hiroshi, he's like a sound guy for big name concerts. Like if Daft Punk goes to Montreal, he's the guy behind the soundboard. You know, he's one of those.
Oh, wow.
You know, yeah, he's a big time guy up where he's at, up in Canada, the western part of Canada. So I mean, he's texted me pictures of, you know, looking out over the crowd from the soundboard and stuff, and it's like that's crazy. And I'm just this guy that like I'll tweet pictures of me like chilling with my chickens in the barn. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so like I think what that really does is like our personalities together. I think it really does kind of mimic just the way that the verse is in Firefly. Because I mean, I'm basically the redneck. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm like half Mal being ex-military. I'm half Jane being an uneducated brute, and you know I'm a little bit part just the dirt in general. You know? Just like the gritty side. And even though my character isn't, you know, he's not that. But my personality is, so it comes in, and it'll be through any character I play. It'll be that, you know. So I think it's just being a brown coat. It just adds a little bit of authenticity to what we do. It's not like we're trying to put on a play for people because we think people will enjoy it. It's we're having fun playing in this universe, and we decided maybe people would have fun listening. And if they don't, hey, we're going to keep doing it because it's fun. You know, this is my game night every week, so I'm going to do it one way or the other, whether anybody listens or not. But the fact that, you know, people are listening and enjoying it and giving us feedback is amazing. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, man, it's a great idea, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to contact you and see if we could talk about that, is because, like, I'm new to podcasting and everything, and I didn't have that kind of idea. I just decided to talk about music and things I like, but I'm so enamored with the fact that you guys actually decided to do this kind of scenario and that it's working out for you. I'm so happy for you guys.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I'll pass that on to the rest of the crew.
All right, man. Well, let's take a break, and then when we come back, we'll wrap everything up, all right?
Sounds good.
All right, brother. Before we begin, like, we'll wrap up and everything. Just try to stay on the line, so that I can wrap up with you personally, all right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, man. All right, so, can you give me, where we can contact you? Do you have any, like, official social media for this podcast that you guys are doing?
Oh, yeah, we're all over the place. Anything Firefly Podcast. So on Twitter, @Firefly Podcast. On Facebook.com/Firefly Podcast. I believe there's a Tumblr Firefly Podcast. There's definitely an Instagram Firefly Podcast.
Okay.
So don't be fooled. We're the only ones named Firefly Podcast.
Okay.
We're on iTunes, Firefly Podcast, Balls and Bayonets Brigade. Same thing on Stitcher, fireflypodcast.libsyn.com/RSS if you're using a cheap Windows phone like I am right now.
Okay. What about the Long Black Veils? How do they contact you if they want to book you or tell you how awesome you are?
The same way. It's facebook.com/The Long Black Veils. Our Twitter is @TheLBV.
Okay.
Because The Long Black Veils is apparently too many characters.
Wow.
So yeah, and both of our albums are on iTunes and Amazon and wherever digital music is distributed.
All right,
and
man.
then thelongblackveils@gmail.com.
Awesome. And do you guys have any shows coming up?
You know what? We don't right now. What we're doing right now is we're getting the third album kind of in pre-production, getting songs polished, writing new stuff. We're working on gear, and I'm hoping we're going to get to recording. But if we do have a show coming up anytime soon, I'll definitely hit you up and let you know.
All right, awesome. And what is the release schedule like for the Firefly podcast?
Firefly podcast comes out every other Wednesday. So currently the last episode just came out on March 18th. The next one will be April 1st, which won't be an April Fool's Day joke.
Okay.
And then tax day, the 15th, the 29th, et cetera, et cetera. And at facebook.com/Firefly podcast, we will keep a current running release schedule with any delays or bonus episodes or anything else we decide to do.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for your time. I can't wait to see what you do with the band and with the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me, man. It's been great. It's been an awesome conversation.
Well, thank you, man. I do try. I love, like I said, I love the conversation and how organic they can get. So thank you very much for your time. And just remember, if you have any information that you want to pass, you're always welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, brother. Have a good night.
You too, man.
Bye. This was a really, really fun episode for me to record. I got really, really lost in talking to Rob and how everything came about, and I really had a good time. Rob was really awesome, and he has been awesome since the show. He's been helping me get a commercial done for the show, and he helped me with the difficulties of submitting to iTunes. I haven't been able to tell him as of this recording, but it was directly because of his information that my podcast got submitted and accepted to iTunes. So thank you very much, man. You're awesome. Go check out the Long Black Veils on Facebook. When you do, tell them that you heard Rob talking about their awesome band here at the Local Music Revolution. Also, go and check out the Firefly podcast. It's on iTunes. It's on Lisbon. I believe that's the pronunciation. And you can talk to Rob on Facebook and Twitter. Tell them that you heard about his podcast through my podcast, the Local Music Revolution. It will be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for all of your kind words and your support. Please remember to continue to rate, comment, subscribe, and add the Local Music Revolution at thelocalmusicrevolution.wordpress.com and facebook.com/thelocalmusicrevolution. Don't forget that I'm also on iTunes now. Just search for the Local Music Revolutions on the iTunes podcast part of the store, and you should be able to find me. Also, if you're a musician, an actor, director, or someone with similar talents, I would really like to have you on the show. So please email me at thelocalmusicrevolution@gmail.com, and we'll get the process started to have you on the show. Until next time, this is the Local Music Revolution. I am Ogre, and you are my awesome audience. Take care and be good.